flanger, and I bought this flange pedal quite a while ago, and you may be familiar with the flange effect as the kind of airplane taking off, or jet plane taking off effect, where it feels like the sound is going down a long tunnel. And personally, I felt like there wasn't a lot of need for that in my sound. I experimented with it a little bit, got some other sounds. I even used it on one of my recordings, but typically it's not a pedal I've gone back to a lot. But recently I wanted to just take a close look at it and see what else it could do and just become a bit more familiar with it. And it actually has some pretty cool sounds. Flanger, chorus, and phase pedals all operate roughly within the same kind of universe. What I noticed about the BF-2 and experimenting with it is that it does actually have some sounds that can approximate the chorus pedal as well. So we're going to start off with everything at 12 o'clock. This is the dry sound. And this is my custom Stevie Ray Vaughan Strat going through a Vox AC15. So with everything just at 12 o'clock, you can hear that weird airplane taking off effect. It's not too pronounced, but it's definitely there. With everything at 12 o'clock, just not really touching anything much more than that, you can get a really distinctive sound. One of my favorite sounds on this is kind of a Leslie cabinet sound. Roll the manual off, and we're going to bring the depth all the way up and leave the rate not quite full but fairly high, and then we're going to roll the res off. Now the depth is going to control how much of the dry sound is mixed with the adjusted signal. The rate changes how quickly that cycling effect happens. So whether it's a very slow wave or whether it's very, very fast, which almost sounds more like a fast tremolo pedal effect almost. The manual and the res take a little more explaining. If you look on Boss's website, it doesn't tell you a whole lot there, not that I can find, but I've heard everything online from the manual controls how much wobbliness you can bring into the sound to what seems like a more plausible explanation, which is that it controls the delay. The manual all the way to the left sets the delay at the highest setting, and then all the way to the right just brings it in a little bit tighter. And then the res rolls off some of the top end high frequencies or brings them back in. So that just controls the flavor of the sound a little bit. So this effect here with the rate rolled off just a little bit below full and the depth all the way up, and then the other two knobs all the way down, gives you kind of a Leslie cabinet kind of effect, which is pretty sweet. Bring the rate all the way up, it has more of a kind of a bubbling effect, which is a little crazy. Up a little bit. I'm just going to bring the rate down a touch so I can bring it back to that Leslie cabinet sound, and bringing the manual up all the way. Just makes it feel a little bit more seasick. Down and bring the res up. Seems to give this kind of wow, wow, wow sort of effect. With manual and res all the way up, it's almost a little bit too overbearing. So you get some really weird sounds. And if you bring the rate all the way up while you have the man and the res up too, and the depth has remained up all this time, it just exacerbates that kind of weird bubbly effect. It's almost like underwater. Which can be pretty cool, actually. It's definitely an extreme sound, but it's one I've used that sound on Stop Talking on my third solo album, Not a Part of Anything. I just felt it was really crazy and intense and just captured some of the frustrated emotion that went into that song. Rolling off the depth and the res a little bit, just bringing that rate down, get you back to that wow, wow, wow sound. Rolling off the rate, it just smoothens out that kind of wow, wow, wow effect, which is a cool effect, but throughout the entire song I think it gets a little tiring on the ear. Just adding more depth. The depth just to pronounce the sound a little bit better. It is a mean sound with distortion pedal on. Clean tone, a lot of these sounds just have this slightly seasick but also kind of psychedelic, kind of underwater, smoky, washed out feel, which I think is really conducive to alt rock and goth rock and ethereal dark wave. The rate that you give to that sound, the less of the sort of jet engine taking off. Effect at the other end of the spectrum. The more depth you add, the more it exacerbates the seasick feeling as well. some of my favorite sounds that you can make with the pedal. There's another couple of cool ones that I like. There's one with the manual all the way to the left, and you've got the depth and the rate just kind of pushing halfway, just below, and the res is just a little over halfway. It just adds a nice cycling touch to the distorted guitar, so it gives you a good solo feel. Depth all the way up there, it adds a weird kind of bounciness to that sound, so it drives it into the less kind of sweet and distinct territory, into something a little bit crazier and lunatic. Sound I like is just with the res all the way up, the manual just below halfway, depth just a little over halfway, and the rate roll down quite a bit. Crazy sounding with clean tone. You add in some distortion. Notice you can get something that approximates a chorus sound if you have almost everything up just a little over halfway, and then we'll bring that res all the way down. It gives what I feel is a pretty cool chorus approximation. And it's not as nice as some of the chorus pedals that I've looked at recently. Would I buy a flanger ahead of some of the other pedals that I've got? Probably not. I think echo, delay, chorus, distortion, I think those are the lusher ones that I absolutely couldn't live without. I could probably live without the flanger, but for extra palette and extra options and extra sounds, yeah, I think this one has a lot to offer. As always, if you like what you see on my channel, please press the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that little bell icon so you're notified when I post new content. Feel free to support me here on the channel or on Facebook. You can find me there. You can find me on Instagram, and you can also find me on Bandcamp or iTunes.